Hello and welcome to the weekly Oracle Wisdom for this final full week of 2025. I don't know about you, but I can't believe we're already at the end of the year. For those of you that haven't seen it already, I did release a 2026 year ahead, looking at all the energies based on what the Oracle cards have to tell us. And the link will be below this video if you want to go and check that out. It is going to be a journey for sure, but I think it's all exciting things. I hope that everybody is ready for Christmas and has wonderful plans. I know that 2025 has been a ride in and of itself, and I know that especially the last 6 weeks to 8 weeks have really been difficult for a lot of us. And maybe difficult isn't the right word, but there have been challenges and we've all been sort of digging deep and forced to look at what is in our life, what is serving us, what isn't serving us. And I hope that you're all geared up for a wonderful Christmas where everything kind of makes sense and you're able to spend time with your loved ones and really enjoy this holiday period. Okay, so we are going to get into it. Oh, and of course, if you didn't catch our last episode of Gemini Rising, Anne and I had Peter Guthrie on, an Australian Hellenistic astrologer, and we talked about a whole bunch of things, but we did a deep dive into the astrological energies and what we're going to be dealing with in 2026, and that was fantastic. If you're on High Vibe, Peter is a new astrologer that you haven't seen before. Anne and I loved the conversation, so the link for that episode will also be below this video if you want to go and check it out. We are already locking people in for Gemini Rising in January, so stay tuned. We will make those announcements once 2026 begins. All right, so we're starting with the Ascending Life Oracle, and we are going to, okay, there we go. We're going to pull a couple of cards. Interesting. To get this reading going. Okay. This is really interesting. I want to pull one more card and you'll see why in just a moment. Okay. All right. So we'll start with this and then we'll pull a couple more. So the first one out is business, work, entrepreneurship, career moves, working on your career success, earning money through work. Then we have chaos. So for those of you that watched the weekly reading last week, you know that this card came out. Difficult experiences, heavy burdens test your strength, unpredictable events, opposing forces. I think she looks like a demon child. And then this was another card that we got in last week's reading, which is rare gift, a special gift given to you. Seize the opportunities. Unique gifts bring luck and success, the power to attract wealth. Then we have reconciliation, restoration of former connections, apologies and forgiveness, trying again in a different way, and conversations. And then the final card that I pulled was higher power. Choose your highest good, aligning with your higher self, connected to spirit, on the path to the divine. So, look, I think there are definitely energies from last week carrying through to this week, and the fact that we're pulling some of the same cards from a deck of 100. The probability of that happening is quite low. So to me, that is definitely the universe saying, this is still going on. This is still what we're facing. Now, obviously, Christmas is always a strange time because everybody takes the main days off. Well, for those that celebrate Christmas or those in Western nations that celebrate Christmas, because Christmas Day is one of the only days in Australia where retail and everything else shuts down. And I know as the years have gone on, there's more places that stay open. There are restaurants and things like that that still operate for the people that don't celebrate Christmas or maybe don't want to cook or host or whatever it is. But I think in the Southern Hemisphere, it's obviously summertime. So there's a lot of people taking time off, taking their summer holidays. Businesses close frequently in Australia for a couple of weeks. Here in the US, a lot of people take time off through this holiday period, but being winter, there's a little more sort of go going on. But I think that there are still business opportunities that are coming up for people. And you've got to remember that the beginning of the week, the 22nd, 23rd, and even the 24th are really still work days. And I think that there is going to be a focus on what we need to wrap up, what it is we need to focus on, and we need to pay attention to all of that. I think we have to be aware that there is still business-oriented things that we have to do and take care of before we step into that holiday period. Now, as for chaos and the rare gift, and they came out together as well. So look, I think I talked at the very beginning of this video before we even got into pulling the cards that the energies of the last 6 weeks have been really difficult. And honestly, if you go back and watch any of David's Deep Astrology videos on High Vibe, and talking about what the planets and the movements and placements that they're in, and also the episode that we did with Ascend with Peter Guthrie on Gemini Rising, so much is shifting. And a lot of it is building to a point where Saturn and Neptune conjunct at 0 degrees Aries. So the very beginning of the zodiac. And that's going to be a huge and pivotal moment for us in history. This is such a rare conjunction. And so from every astrologer that I've spoken to, they've all said the same thing. That's going to be a turning point and the energy will begin to shift. And so until we get to that time point in February, we're going to be feeling these very last degrees with Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, which is the 12th house. And these are difficult degrees. And I think we are all feeling it. And it is all dependent on our own personal birth chart as to what house it's falling in. And it's really interesting looking at people's charts, their individual birth charts, and looking at where these placements are affecting them. And so we're all experiencing this differently, and that aligns with all the conversations I've been having with people. So I think that there are things that are coming up that are challenging. I think we are being tested by the universe, but I also believe that all of these experiences are what strengthen us to move forward and really do great things in this world. I was talking to somebody earlier today about what happened in Bondi and how horrific it is. And she was telling me about an event that she had gone to where a survivor of the attack on October 7th was speaking. And she said, he should never have gone through that. And I said, nobody should. But what if that horrible experience is what put him on the path to change the world and reach people in a way that he never would have before? And I often reference my own abusive relationship that I was in. And while I would never wish to go back to it and I would never wish to go through it, I also wouldn't go back and change it. I have written articles that have been published around the world talking about my experience. I never had the worst experience with domestic violence. There are men and women who have experienced much, much worse than what my experience was. But if my having the conversation and the fact that I have had a platform where I have been able to talk about it and keep that conversation going, keep the spotlight on that and make people think more deeply, I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful that that is something that I've been able to achieve in my life. So just remember that as we're carrying these burdens and as our strength is being tested, often there is a greater purpose, even if we can't see it in the moment. And as I always say, this too shall pass. Whatever it is we're going through, and maybe it takes longer to pass. When I ended that relationship, I still wasn't free. I had to live with that man for 12 months after the relationship ended. And there's a long and complicated story as to why, but I had to live with him. And the mental abuse continued. And I remember at different moments feeling like I would never get away from him. And ultimately, there was a turning point, and I did move out and things started to get better, but I still had him coming for me in different ways. And I had to sort of navigate that. And then finally, there was a moment where I was completely free of him. And you know, the light at the end of the tunnel, there was a moment where it was so dark, and then there was just this glimmer of light, and then that light grew and grew and grew. And ultimately, I now exist in that brilliant light, and he is no longer a part of my life other than a story to tell to demonstrate, you know, the point that I'm trying to make. The other thing is with the chaos card, and I always think it looks like such a dark card with the devil child and, you know, the very clear tornado, but this isn't necessarily a bad thing. There is just the possibility that it's unexpected events, something that we didn't see coming, and the unexpected event could be this rare gift. And there are always gifts with every experience we go through. With every single experience we go through, there is a gift, there is a silver lining. So I mean, the fact that we're in the holiday period, it's Hanukkah, it is Christmas. So there is this exchange of gifts. So it could be that you are gifted something wonderful, something that you've been waiting for. Maybe it's that there is an opportunity that comes up that is so incredible. And that could be the unexpected thing that is coming up that this chaos card is representing. It's the unexpected rare gift that is just like the ultimate and the perfect way to see the year out. It could just be luck in something that you're trying to achieve. It could be abundance in terms of money. So I talk about all of this because I know that sometimes the cards, the depiction on it and just the name of the card can sound really dark, but it doesn't need to necessarily be that. And I always use the example of in tarot, the death card or the tower card. Though, you know, death card, something is coming to an end. It doesn't always mean literal death. The tower card, things are going to shift really quickly, and sometimes something's being destroyed so that new things can come in. So sometimes those things can be difficult, but it doesn't always need to be difficult. So the next card out was reconciliation, restoration of former connections, apologies and forgiveness, things trying again in a different way, and conversations. So let me tell you, I've been having a lot of conversations this past week, and I'm sure there's going to be more of them next week. And part of that has been this energy that we've been facing these last couple of weeks. And I'm grateful for the conversations because it means that we are, the people that I'm conversing with, we are seeking resolution to what is going on, or we are seeking to find common ground. And I think that these are incredibly important things to do. Now, one of the things that I have talked about a lot this year is it's shedding of things and people and situations that no longer serve us. And I have talked about shedding people, and that is sometimes a romantic connection, sometimes it's a friendship, sometimes it's a family member because maybe the relationship is toxic, maybe we have outgrown the person, maybe we're just on two different paths, whatever it is. And I always say sometimes that separation comes and it's devastating and it feels like it's a forever thing. And then we come back into each other's lives. the first female friend that I ever made, like true female friend that showed me that I could trust women, was when I was 16 and I went back to complete my final 2 years of high school. I had left when I was, I don't know if I was 14 and a half, but I had a year and a half off. I had a year and a half off. I worked at a restaurant and then at a supermarket, and then I went, I need more than this in life. And so I went back to school, and there was this girl, and we were the only two people that were 16 and 17. Everybody else were technically adults, and we just clicked. And when I say we clicked, I mean this woman was like my other half. And for 2 years, we were the best of friends. We finished each other's sentences, and the relationship was just more than I ever could have hoped for. And then something happened. There was a huge fallout, and I was devastated, and I tried to fix it, and I just couldn't. We were on two different paths, and there was this separation. Through the next 10 years, I ran into people that I had met through her and her brother, and I even caught up with her brother at one point. And so there were these random moments of being able to hear how she was doing, and I was happy for her, and all this stuff was going on. And then one day I think I was doing a fashion parade, and I ran into someone again that knew her, and it was this random encounter. And I said, "How's she doing?" And he told me, and it was not long after Facebook had begun. And I thought, I'll search her and see what I can find. And I found her. And so I sent her a DM, and I didn't think that I would ever hear from her. And in that message, I sent her my number and was like, here it is. If you want to reach out, I would love to hear from you. And about a week later, my phone rang, and I never answer unknown numbers, but I answered this call. And I said, hello. And I hear this giggle down the phone that I knew so well. And she said, you sound exactly the same. And that was 20 years ago, which is crazy to me. So was it 20 years ago? Yeah, it had to be. Or maybe just under 20 years. But we have been friends ever since. And the stuff that this woman has helped me through and supported me through, and vice versa, I have done for her. So when I tell you that sometimes when a separation with friendship happens, it does. And sometimes those friendships don't come back, but sometimes they do. And so my advice would be, if somebody is coming back and maybe there is a conversation that needs to be had, have that conversation, be open. And maybe it's just to give you closure, but that closure will give you peace over the coming years. Maybe apologies and forgiveness. Maybe it's you that needs to apologize. Maybe you need to forgive someone. And I know so often people go, well, they did this to me and they did that to me and blah, 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 blah. Forgiveness isn't always for the other person. Sometimes it is, but more often than not, it's to help you release what's going on for you, so that you're not carrying that anymore. And like I said, be open to the conversations. Maybe there's a way to navigate the relationship differently to how it was last time, so that it works for both of you. So just be open to that. And then we have the higher power card, choosing your highest good, aligning with your higher self, connected to spirit, on the path to the divine. And I think this very much aligns with forgiveness and also apologies, because in those moments where we are able to own our part in something, I think there is something very divine and very connected in that. And it is a time of year where we can get caught up in the material. Okay. Where we can get caught up in the material over and above everything else. And so this is a time, I think, where we really do need to focus on what is going to connect us to spirit, on what is going to help us grow and evolve and get us to a better place. So I just had two cards jump out, and one is the Star. Wish fulfillment, blessings, wealth and fame, becoming quite popular, brand new and hopeful life. So I think there's a lot of positive this week. I think we've got the rare gift. We've got wish fulfillment and blessings with this star card. We've got reconciliation. So I think there are a lot of really good things coming through. I think the only thing that's really sort of throwing a spanner in the works is the chaos card. But again, that can just be the unexpected that is coming through. And that aligns with the energies of where we are at the moment. The final card from the Ascending Life Oracle is local travel, mini local vacations, getting out more, a romantic weekend getaway, having to drive more. So, I mean, to me, this is almost like a duh sort of card in that it's Christmas time. People are going to be traveling. People are going to be on the roads more because we're going to be driving, to visit the people that we love or who we spend time with. We always know there's crazy traffic at this time of year. And maybe you're going to travel and get out of town, whether it be going home to spend the holidays with family, or whether it be going, you know what, this year I just need to get away from where I am so that I can have time out. So I think enjoy this moment in time where things start to ease a little bit and just relax for us so that we can kind of regroup. We can enjoy the gifts that are being given to us, whether by the universe or literal gifts that are coming through. Okay. And try and be in that holiday spirit. Just try and be present, try and enjoy all that is there. So then we move on to the Guiding Angels Oracle, and 3 cards have jumped out while I've been shuffling. First one being distant future. Even if you can't immediately see the evidence of your desires manifesting, remember that other people's free will choices are involved. So there are things that are coming that you cannot even see yet. There are choices being made that are are manifesting behind the scenes, and there are people working behind the scenes to help your dreams come true. And so you need to trust. And I think that this is a week, I said before, as I was finishing up with the Ascending Life Oracle, that you need to be in the moment. You need to enjoy the energies of this week. And I think that you need to focus on the work that is in front of you. I think that we've talked in the previous weeks about manifestation and what it is you need to do in order to manifest what it is you're asking for in life. And I've talked about the best ways to do that. And we've talked about which weeks have been the best to do it. And manifestation doesn't always come through immediately. I always tell the story about moving to the US. I first talked about moving to the US 10 years prior to me actually moving. And maybe it was even 11 years. And I really released that idea and trusted that I would end up where I was meant to be. And then one day it came through that there were opportunities here and I was able to sort of seize on them. So don't focus on the things that you can't see and can't control this week. Focus on being in the present, the opportunities that are presented to you, whether it be these people coming back into your life and all these different things, and allow the people that are working behind the scenes in the manifestation that's coming together to actually fall into place and for them to do their thing and the divine timing of all of that to take place. Then we have third party. Someone you're not aware of will affect the outcome. Everything will unfold for the greatest good for all involved. So if that's not a confirmation of the distant future card, I don't know what is. So there is somebody else involved in this manifestation, and you just have to let them do their thing. There is nothing else you can do at this moment. That is the strongest message that I'm getting. And then we have boundaries. When you don't when you don't protect or overprotect your boundaries, your needs go unmet. Review and renew your boundaries. So make sure that those boundaries are very clear. In the reconciliation card, one of the words on that card is conversations. And I think that's where that comes in. If your needs are not being met or if your boundaries have changed, this is the week to have those conversations and say, hey, this is what I need. And especially if you're reconciling with somebody, maybe if there's a way for this person to come back into your life and there is a conversation around that, this may be where you have to be very clear as to what your boundaries are and what it is you need for that relationship to continue on. And sometimes those conversations can be incredibly uncomfortable, but they still need to be had, because only when you have them will these people be able to meet your needs. Otherwise, they're going to move through the world and the relationship as they see fit. So when there's a conversation and there's clear communication in that area, you're both going to have a better chance of meeting each other where you need to. Okay, so I am going to pull one final card from the Archangel Micahel Sword of Light Oracle, which is a Radleigh Valentine deck. I just feel at this time of year and with this energy, we need to focus on healing and growth as opposed to shadow work and all of that. I feel like everything's heavy enough. So the card that came out is Don't Give Up on Love. A relationship you cherish can be healed. Allow me to clear the way for forgiveness so that love can thrive again. So this can be an old romantic relationship that's coming back in, but love can be between family members. It can be between friends. My girlfriend that I talked about before, I love this woman. And even as our lives have changed dramatically and we are in very different places, I will always take her calls and we will always be connected. And, you know, I am so glad that I reached out to her that day. And I'm so glad we have had conversations about what it was that made that relationship fall away in the first place, because that has allowed us to move forward in the most wonderful way. So look, I think this week is a lot about forgiveness and healing things that needed to be healed, and maybe the conversation and the love for this other person, if someone's coming back in, is just closure. And that in itself can be love, because getting closure, forgiving, apologies, all of that is an act of love. And when you're doing it without expectation, that is the highest form of love. And that is when you are connecting with your higher power. So, you know, go out there, do all the wonderful things. Know that there are many gifts coming to you, whether it be in the spiritual world or in the material world. I hope that all of you have the most wonderful Christmas. I hope that it's filled with joy, love. If Christmas isn't your thing, happy Hanukkah. If that's not your thing, happy holidays, or just happy end of 2025. As I always say, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Not every reading is for every person, but I do hope this has resonated with some of you at least. And make sure you go check out the 2026 year ahead oracle reading. It's the first time I've ever done a year ahead video. And also make sure you go and check out Peter Guthrie on Gemini Rising, our final episode for 2025. Once again, looking ahead at 2026. That episode, though, is all about the astrology. So go check that out. And thank you for supporting me and watching throughout 2025. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this video, or even the 2026 year, look at the year ahead, so that I can keep these videos coming for you. Merry Christmas, everyone.